Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're cracking open the black box of modern hiring, and we're basing it all on a really fascinating new report from the Colorado-based tech research group Virtualization Options LLC. Seriously, if you've applied for a job anytime recently, you're gonna want to hear this.
Okay, let's just start with a number. 95%. Let that sink in for a second. According to the report, that's how many Fortune 500 companies are using what's called an applicant tracking system, or ATS, to manage hiring. We're talking about pretty much everybody.
And here's what that really means for you. The first set of eyes on that resume you spent hours perfecting, well, they aren't eyes at all. It's an algorithm. Before a real person, a hiring manager, even knows you exist, you have to get past this automated gatekeeper.
That's the million-dollar question, right? So today, we're going to break down how this system actually works. We'll pull back the curtain on the clever and, yeah, sometimes controversial ways people are gaming it, and we'll dig into what this all means for the future of finding a job.
All right, so first things first, let's get a really clear picture of what we're actually up against here. What is this system, and, what was it designed to do in the first place?
At its heart, an ATS is all about one thing: efficiency. I mean, think about it. Companies get hundreds, sometimes thousands of applications for just one job. So these systems are basically robots built to sift through that mountain of resumes to find candidates that match the job description, mostly by scanning for specific keywords and qualifications. And the process itself looks pretty simple on the surface. You upload your resume, right? Then the system parses it, which just means it pulls out the data. Then it screens that data against the job requirements. And finally, it either prioritizes you for a human to look at, or you get that dreaded automated rejection email. Every single step is a hurdle.
Now, whenever you have an automated gatekeeper that runs on predictable rules, you know what happens next. A whole world has popped up around one single goal: figuring out how to beat the robot.
So the most common trick is something called keyword stuffing. Just look at this example from the report. The one on the right is stuffed with the word project over and over. To you and me, it sounds completely ridiculous, right? But to an ATS that's just counting keywords, this resume score can go way, way up.
And it's not just about the words you use. Smart applicants are also thinking about formatting. Why? Well, it turns out that fancy designs with tables, columns, or even text in the header can totally confuse the system, making it miss your best qualifications. So a super simple, kind of boring-looking resume often beats a beautifully designed one.
Okay, this is where it gets wild. A more extreme tactic is to add a bunch of keywords to the resume, but in white text. To a person reading it, it's totally invisible against the white page. But the ATS, it doesn't see colors, it just reads the text. It's a hidden jackpot of keywords that can launch an application right to the top of the list.
And why do people go to all this trouble? Because, and this is a direct quote from the Virtualization Options LLC report, it works. Getting up to 60% more interviews, that's a huge advantage. It's created this kind of arms race where knowing how to optimize your resume is almost as important as being qualified for the job.
So, the reason all this gaming works so well is because these automated systems, for all their efficiency, have some really big and frankly pretty concerning blind spots.
This chart right here just illustrates the problem perfectly. You've got candidate A who has real, solid experience, but they score a 62%. That's below the 70% cutoff for a human to even look at them. They're out. Meanwhile, candidate B, the keyword optimizer, scores a whopping 89% and gets the interview, even if they're less qualified. The machine just made the better candidate invisible.
And sometimes the reason you get rejected is just absurdly simple. The report found that around 20% of resumes get tossed out because of minor typos in key terms. A person would instantly know that JavaScript is a typo for JavaScript, but a lot of these systems don't. And that one little mistake can be all it takes.
Now, this was a really alarming finding in the report. It turns out the system can pick up on hidden biases. For example, phrasing like expert in, which some studies link to more masculine communication styles, was scoring way higher than proficient in, which is sometimes linked to feminine styles, even when they were describing the exact same skill. The algorithm was basically rewarding one way of talking over another.
So the big takeaway here is that these systems are just blind to nuance. They can't see soft skills like leadership or creativity. They don't get the context of what you achieved, and they have no idea how your skills from a totally different industry might be a perfect fit. And they often penalize people for things like career changes or gaps in employment, filtering out tons of valuable experience.
But the good news is, that's not the end of the story. As more people become aware of these problems, both job seekers and employers are starting to figure out how to build a smarter, more balanced process. Let's take a look at what that is.
For you, the applicant, the name of the game is ethical optimization. Yeah, you gotta tailor your resume for the machine. Use the right keywords, use simple formatting. But you also have to make sure it's an honest, compelling story for the human you hope will read it next. And pro tip, never forget that networking can often let you bypass the robot altogether.
And for the companies out there, the solution is to remember that the ATS is a tool, not a final judge. That means doing things like auditing your filters for bias, maybe lowering the screening score to let more people through for a human to review, and most importantly, always, always keeping a human in the loop to catch what the machine misses. And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? It's about finding that sweet spot, a balanced approach where technology does the heavy lifting up front, but humans provide that crucial, irreplaceable judgment. That's how you find the best people, reduce bias, and just make the whole process better for everyone.
And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. As these systems get even smarter with AI, we have a choice to make. Are we building tools that will actually create better connections between people and opportunities? Or are we just building more sophisticated walls, creating a brand new, even more complex game that everyone has to learn how to play? The answer to that is really going to shape the future of work.